Hello everybody and welcome back to the RORSRPS Season 2 Qualifier. My name is Preston Vieira and we are coming in a bit lukewarm to Week 4. Apologies for missing our show yesterday, some stuff came up, but we are back and we are finding 2 more qualifiers tonight, continuing our journey of finding our full Season 2 lineup. Remember, you can join in the tour placement voting process for this week's qualifiers by heading over to the RORSRPS Instagram this weekend, Saturday, February 17th. That's at RORSRPS. Drop a follow and keep an eye on my story because every vote counts. And as usual, please consider subscribing if you enjoy tonight's event and want to keep up with qualifiers or catch the soon-to-come Season 2, featuring 3 tours of chaos and a new larger total of 48 main field trucks. But here on YouTube, you're only getting half the RORSRPS experience. Don't forget to go over to Instagram this weekend so you can be a decision maker, be the tiebreaker. We already filled up our Indy Madness tour and soon we'll have only 2 or 3 spots left overall. Get your opinions heard. Follow that RORSRPS Instagram. Also, don't forget to head over to Dubby.gg and check them out. Dubby hydration powders have everything, bunch of wild flavors, from mango orange cream in the Calio cream flavor to watermelon lemonade in their watermelonada hydration blend. They have even more and some awesome stickers and merch on Dubby.gg. Join the Dubby movement, get hydrated, get energized, support the RORSRPS channel. That's more important in quotation or in parentheses there, and take 10% off Dubby's wide range of flavors using code RORSRPS. But we are already burning through our wheel spins here. An Escalade I saw there just a second ago. Dragon, we already qualified Dragon in, so we are going to skip him. Game over, level up, so we're going to be rocking with level up since he was a Season 1 qualifier. Jurassic Attack is here once again, a 2022 version. Of course, this is Dalton Widener's version, not Olfert's, but we're keeping things rolling. Shake Me is already qualified into Season 2 as well. And Custom Incinerator, it looks like he's going to finish us out there. Here's our full lineup so you can get a look at that. We're going to shuffle that up 3 times and find our official matchups for Season 1. This is going to be exciting here tonight. Getting back into it. First time for this week. Round 1, Iron Spider is going to take on Incinerator. War Machine will face off against Metal Militia. Captain USA will take on Level Up. Jurassic Attack versus Bulldozer. Gravedigger versus Pure Adrenaline. An Escalade is going to face off against Recreation. Gravedigger the Legend is going to take on My Own Custom from way back, 31 flavors. Baskin Robbins Truck. And World Finals 15 is going to take on Medusa to close out round 1. An exciting round of racing here. Iron Spider on your right now, taking on Incinerator for our first race of the week. Unfortunately, it's on a Tuesday, but we are going green. Oh my goodness. Iron Spider, slight lead there, and of course, as we've seen many times, both of these trucks have been here quite a few times now, but Iron Spider and those Spider-Man trucks just have a knack for this track. Overall, I mean, they struggle getting into the final round, and none of them have taken a win, like an overall win, but you know, they are good until they're not, and we'll see if Iron Spider can get things under control. He's already bounced off the dumpsters in turn 1. Incinerator looking nice and smooth on this track tonight. Heading up, and Incinerator going to come up short on the double rollers. Iron Spider is all over the place, having to let that truck settle down and get straight before heading up and over the double rollers there. I mean, Iron Spider not able to catch Incinerator at this point. We do have about a half a race to go. Look at the air from Iron Spider. Clearing the cars. Only 2 trucks have done that. Iron Spider now and Screaming Evil, who we're going to be seeing later on tonight. Incinerator goes down in the tunnel. Iron Spider free and clear to head into the winner's circle here in round 1 onto round 2. We'll see if he can keep progressing throughout the rest of the night and if he can keep this elevated turn under control. Not here in round 1, it looks like. Unfortunate there. I mean, at least he does it here when he has no opponent, right? He has a chance to come back and perfect that maybe a bit better in round 2. But coming around and looking for that final turn, Iron Spider free and clear all by himself to finish out his practice lap here and move on to round 2. Nicely done over the triple and headed to the finish line. Iron Spider, I mean, it's unfortunate we started out the night with, you know, one of our two opponents going down early, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Iron Spider rocking with himself into round 2. We'll see who's going to be taken on here with Metal Militia taking on War Machine. This is a interesting version of Metal Militia, to say the least. We'll see how he does here against War Machine. I don't think he has the top end to really compete, but look at the wheelie off the line. Haven't seen that from anybody yet in this entire qualifying window. We are now, I mean, this is what, 33? This is number 33 for individual events. Metal Militia gonna come up short and going over. Down he goes, gets a save, nicely done, and keeps it off the fence as well. But War Machine, a nice big lead on Metal Militia as Metal Militia just enters into that turn in reverse. Might as well. I mean, you're too far behind at this point to really catch up here on the first floor. We'll see if Metal Militia can come back at some point. War Machine has some experience on this track. We have seen a Metal Militia here, but it was not this version. So we'll see if he can, you know, do a little better by the end of it. War Machine, just a nice big gap on Metal Militia at this point. Kind of gets tripped up on the bridge. Not much to worry about, though. Gets down on all 4 BKTs, and he's looking for a transfer into the tunnel. Is he going to get it? Getting close to the wall on the landing, but gets a nice clean, well, I shouldn't say clean, a nice landing. Gets a little squirrely in the tunnel, but controls it and gets it down. Metal Militia takes a hard hit directly to the face. Metal Militia is done in the tunnel. War Machine free and clear to head into round 2. That's 2 trucks in a row, both of them in that red lane tonight, able to just advance on to the next one. We'll see if that's a trend here tonight. These lanes are even, but if the if the blue lane is catching people out, you know, that's a mind game. That's if everyone's messing up in the blue lane, you want to be the one to you know, advance and do better than everybody else. But the fact is, everybody in your lane hasn't been doing well. So I mean, you got to be, the pressure's all on you to do well and advance on to the next round. But check this out. Level Up, we haven't seen him in a while. He was in our second show. I think he was our first, no, he was our second substitute, on the Custom Chaos Tour in Season 1. So we'll see if he can get into Season 2 as a main field competitor. Of course, the only electric monster truck in the circuit. We'll see if he can, see if he can get into Season 2. Captain USA, we saw him earlier in this qualifying season. We'll see if he can knock out Level Up and potentially get into Season 2. That would be the first time we've seen him at all on the in the ROR SRPS season. Captain USA a bit slow through those pits of disqualification through the slalom. Comes up a little short on the double roller as well, and the starting elevation leap. It's Level Up, who is essentially free and clear to grab a win here. I mean, anything can happen to Level Up, though. So Captain USA just needs to stick with it. We've seen him many times on this track, just slow and steady. Not really slow and steady. You don't want to go slow, but steady and do you. And your opponent could go a bit too hard and end up, you know, over in the tunnel, getting tripped up here on the rollers. But Level Up is doing a great job of keeping that truck under control and flying through this track. Gonna go for the leap. Nice clean landing on that elevated turn. Looks good for an entry into Season 2 for Level Up. Captain USA gets a big hit on the nose, bounces backwards, manages to keep it on all 4s, but that is gonna put the final nail in the coffin for Captain USA. Level Up around that final turn and over the triple. Level Up into round 2. Level Up did pretty well for Season 1. I don't remember the exact score, but I am gonna say he got around 21 points for his season appearance. You know, he was only there for one show. He was unable to grab a racing or freestyle win, so he didn't get himself a second show. But in the one show he was in, he got 21 points or so. You know, 19, 21, somewhere around there. And it was a solid performance for sure. He was right on the cusp of World Finals qualification, but it just didn't happen for him. Jurassic Attack coming out next on your right, taking on Bulldozer. The Animals going head-to-head. Launching off of that starting line and taking on the step up. These two are neck and neck so far, but it's Jurassic Attack on the floor first with a slight lead. Bulldozer's been here before, though. Nice and clean from both of them through the gap and down onto the floor heading into this first turn. It's about neck and neck. Bulldozer uses his little bit of experience to come back and end up, you know, with a slight lead at this point, but Jurassic Attack is right there with him. I wouldn't put him out at all. You just got to watch and see how the rest of this race goes. It is Bulldozer coming out of the slalom first and into the double rollers. Up onto starting elevation for Bulldozer is out a bit wide. Jurassic Attack nice and tight. Heading down onto the bridge, or up onto the bridge, I should say, down the ski hill. It's still Jurassic Attack with that slight lead, nearly heading into the center divide there, giving Bulldozer just a slight chance to catch up, and he does manage to grab a very slight lead here. I would say that's about equal. Jurassic Attack, slightly better transfer into the tunnel, but a big slip lets Bulldozer come back on top once again. Bulldozer squirrely looking for the gap. He's going to go long to low. So is Jurassic Attack, but I would say Jurassic Attack has more momentum. Bulldozer just holding that lead, very slight on Jurassic Attack. This is a great race between the two of them. Jurassic Attack just unable to edge out Bulldozer at this point. Heading into this final turn, will Bulldozer make a mistake? No, he is a bit out wide and squirrely, but not enough for Jurassic Attack to come back. Bulldozer is on to round two. Jurassic Attack done here in round one. The classics knocking out the the current kings of the sport right now. I mean, I don't know if Jurassic Attack is really the king of the sport, but you know, big names, Monster Jam, you know what it is. Gravedigger coming out next on your right, taking on Pure Adrenaline on your left. This is going to be an interesting race, to say the least. We got that Gravedigger 14, I believe, 14 or 15, taking on that Werewolf Pure Adrenaline. Pure Adrenaline's been here quite a few times now, and quite a few times he has been unable to get across that finish line. We'll see if he can keep that truck in one piece and under control here in round one tonight, taking on Gravedigger, who is squirrely in the first straight and having to slam on those brakes here in the gap. That puts him at a big disadvantage. Yeah, that's Gravedigger 14, and he is struggling here in this first floor. Pure Adrenaline nice and clean. Of course, those werewolf trucks looking great through the slalom. Pure Adrenaline just showcasing that beautifully, and a great landing on the double roller. Getting right up onto starting elevation is looking good for the werewolf truck here tonight. Look at the sky wheelie from Gravedigger. Wow. Managing to get back down on all fours, a bit wide in that turn, a bit slow. I mean, he is recovering, so I get it, but he is struggling here in this race against Pure Adrenaline, who now has a flat in that right rear. And he's going over a hard hit on the cab in the tunnel. The tunnel just gets him out a lot of the time here on this track. Pure Adrenaline down here in round one. Gravedigger, again, another red lane truck, able to just free and clear grab a win here in round one. Coming around this elevated turn, Gravedigger, just a practice pass at this point. Much needed practice pass here tonight. I mean, he's been struggling this entire pass, and we'll see if he can tame some of these gremlins heading into round two. Big wide turn around that final one and heading to the triple. I mean, sometimes you just got to get that first one out of the way, right? If you can make it into round two, that first one was just a rough pass, and we'll see if Gravedigger shows us that that's exactly what it was going into round two. But that is it. He's going to head up to starting elevation and get prepped for next round as we get prepped for our next race. An Escalate coming out next on your right, taking on Recreation. This sounds familiar. I could be wrong. We might have seen this an Escalate versus Recreation before, but it's going to be an interesting race here no matter what, whether we've seen it before or not, because Recreation has been in that final round before. He had a taste of glory for a second there, and it just didn't work out for him. An Escalade has yet to see the final round. We'll see if he can knock out Recreation and get a nice clean pass into round two, especially being in that red lane. Of course, that's the lane that's been working for everybody tonight. Recreation off, I would say, at a disadvantage just mentally. You know, he's in the rough lane tonight, So we'll see if he can keep up with or put up a fight against an Escalate here in round 1. An Escalade looking nice and clean on the downside. Recreation overshooting it. He's going to come up short onto starting elevation. Manages to keep it on all 4 tires, though. All 4 BKT tires at that, as we head up onto the bridge. An Escalade just keeping things rolling here, giving Recreation a chance to make up some ground, though. Heading into the transfer, into the tunnel. Ooh, both of them getting a bounce. Recreation manages to come out on top as we head onto the bottom floor. It's looking good for Recreation. This could be our first truck out of the blue lane. I don't want to jinx it. I might have just jinxed it. That was the best, probably the best landing we've seen from Recreation through the gap there. An Escalade going long to low, managing to make up or stay with him. I don't know about make up a little ground, but keep right there with Recreation after a little bobble there. But again, that is the best landing we've seen from Recreation on the gap on the bottom floor, and it works for him perfectly. Recreation is our first truck out of that lightning lane. Recreation taking the win here in round 1, advancing on to the next one. An Escalade is done tonight. Well, done for now. We'll see if he can come back. Maybe he can make an appearance in the next event as well, in the next bracket, see if he can do better or reappear. Gravedigger the Legend coming out next on your right, though, taking on Baskin-Robbins 31 Flavors Monster Truck. We'll see who will come out on top here. OG V4 versus a, newer, updated V4. Heading up and over the step up. Both trucks trying to clear it. Gravedigger the Legend tapping those rear tires slightly on the way down. It is Baskin-Robbins 31 Flavors with a cleaner downside on the Jackrabbit, though. Heading around that turn. Gravedigger the Legend not doing too bad. He has been here more times than 31 Flavors, though. He's been here probably, this is his 3rd or 4th time being here, getting another shot at this track. And Baskin-Robbins 31 Flavors, first time. So we'll see how he does here. An interesting truck for sure. I mean, as I mentioned, that is one of my original customs, but it's an interesting one. I do like it. I still enjoy that truck. I think it was fun. I created that thing when I was working there. That was my first job, Baskin-Robbins. So it's cool. I got to eat a lot of ice cream and drink a lot of milkshakes. So I liked it. Heading into the transfer. Nicely done from Baskin-Robbins. Beautifully done from Gravedigger the Legend. The Legend wants to catch up to 31 Flavors right now, but it's just not happening yet. He is making up some ground, though, as Baskin-Robbins is getting kicked all over the place. 31 Flavors. Slow through that elevated turn, but Gravedigger the Legend in trouble. Baskin-Robbins goes down. Clipping that launch ramp in the straight, trying to get a save, but it's not going to happen. Gravedigger the Legend gets a save, though. At some point, I missed it. I was watching 31 Flavors fly. Gravedigger the Legend coming around that final turn and headed to the triple. Amazing comeback from Gravedigger the Legend. Over the triple he goes, and to the finish line. Gravedigger the Legend moves on to round 2, one step closer to grabbing a win here and an advancement into Season 2, a qualifying spot into Season 2. We'll see if he can do it tonight as we progress through the bracket here. We are already in our last race of round 1. World Finals 15 coming out next on your right, taking on Medusa. Now, if I'm not wrong, we have seen this version of Medusa on this track already. And I believe she went down in round 1 or 2. So we'll see if she can make it back up into round 2 this time, or if World Finals 15 can prove to be a solid competitor. Up and over the gap, it is Medusa who comes off a bit bouncy. I was going to say nice and clean, but getting down to the actual floor kind of got her caught up there, getting real bouncy, a lot of rebounds. Heading through the slalom, it is World Finals 15 who managed to capitalize on Medusa's mistake. He is in the lead right now. Medusa with a big slide in the slalom. It's not looking good for Medusa here in round 1. World Finals 15 comes up short. He's going to have to reverse. Medusa nice and clean on the double rollers. Oh, World Finals 15 going down off of the starting elevation ledge. He is done. I believe he landed on the chassis. That is gonna, oh no, they do let him refire. Wow, amazing. Must have been on the comms telling him that he's good, he's good. Medusa, the first one into the tunnel already. World Finals 15 doesn't look good for him. I mean, anything can happen. We saw 31 Flavors get into trouble in the straightaway there. Medusa going down, nearly able to get a save, but it's not gonna happen. World Finals 15, free and clear to grab a win once again in the red lane. It's just not working out for the blue lane tonight. I don't know what's going on. The lanes are even. They're the exact same race, just flipped. So I don't understand what's happening with that blue lane tonight. It's just a mental game, I think. Everyone's been going out, so everyone has pressure on them when they're in that blue lane. And maybe in round 2 we can get a fresh start, and we'll see how our first race goes and if people can, hold it together after that. But as for round 1, red lane seems to be the dominant lane here tonight. Coming around that final turn for World Finals 15, a rough turn. Good thing this is a practice pass at this point, because he needed that mistake here in round 1 so he could tighten up the screws for round 2, because competition is only going to get harder. Over the finish line he goes, and that is going to do it for round 1. A weird night for our first round of racing here in our first event. We'll see how the rest of the night goes. Let's take a look at our round 2 bracket here. Iron Spider is going to be taking on War Machine, the Marvel mashup there in round 2. Level Up is going to take on Bulldozer. Gravedigger will face off against Recreation, and Gravedigger the Legend is going to take on World Finals 15. There's a possibility for a Gravedigger versus Gravedigger the Legend in the semifinals, and that would be interesting for me personally. I'd like to see it. We'll see how it goes there as we jump into round 2 now. Iron Spider on your right taking on War Machine. Now, something interesting about this race is both of these trucks were in that red lane in round 1. War Machine jumps over to that lightning lane. He saw firsthand that lightning lane has been giving trucks problems, so we'll see if he can survive this round. Rolls over the top of that step up, kind of gets crooked there. Needs to watch out. Having trouble on the Jackrabbit as well. Iron Spider in the lead over the gap on the first floor. Iron Spider trying to get that truck under control after the problems he had in round 1. Does narrowly avoid those dumpsters there. Almost went right back into him, just like we saw him do in round 1. Through the slalom, though, it is nearly neck and neck. War Machine doing well and making up some ground on Iron Spider at the moment. But it is War Machine who comes up short on those double rollers, getting him into trouble and just furthering that lead for Spider-Man, that Iron Spider truck. Another big leap from Iron Spider, just tapping those cars on the way down. It looks good for the Spider-Man on the way into the tunnel. Oh no! Clips the tunnel, going over! Spider-Man down in the tunnel. They do let him keep going, but War Machine makes up a lot of ground and grabs the lead, heading into the bottom floor. This could go either way in this coming couple of turns here. Spider-Man trying to clear that gap again. Gets into trouble though. War Machine may have a shot. Iron Spider looks like he is too far behind at this point. War Machine heading into the final turn. Will there be a mistake? No. War Machine beautifully done around that final turn. Iron Spider not too clean. Iron Spider adding insult to injury there around that final turn and hits the cars in the triple, goes down with a rough roll. Iron Spider is done tonight, and War Machine is on to the semifinals. Kicking off our second round in the lightning lane, at least, with a great start. We'll see if the lanes switched here, if the red lane has become our, the bad lane. Level Up taking on Bulldozer here in round 2. Both of them airing it out there. Level Up taking more of a rollover approach to the step up, but comes off the Jackrabbit cleaner. Looking good for Level Up here on the first floor so far. This is only our first straightaway, obviously, but we'll see if Level Up can make that upgrade from sub to main field competitor here for season 2 as we move on through the bracket. Coming through the slalom, it is close. Bulldozer making up the ground on Level Up. Oh, level up clips the column as well. Bulldozer not too bad on the double rollers. Level up getting into a little bit of trouble. Onto starting elevation. Bulldozer furthering his lead on level up. It is looking like that lightning lane is the go-to lane here for round 2. I don't know what happened. The lanes seem to have switched after a little super short break between rounds. Bulldozer. Bulldozer clips the wall in the tunnel. Level up, nice and clean. Bulldozer may be out here. The chassis hit the wall. They are letting him refire, but they shut him down for a minute there to check him out. He is behind. I don't know if he's going to be able to make up the ground. Level up coming just shy of a pretty solid landing there on that elevated turn. Bulldozer airing it out. He's going for it with a beautiful landing, but overshoots the turn a little bit. Level up getting into trouble of his own there in that semifinal straightaway, but coming around the turn, level up more trouble. Level up is struggling in the later half of this run. Bulldozer too far back to do anything about it though. Level up onto the semifinals tonight. Will he finally get up into that main field and get a recurring position here? Last season he was a sub, as I've mentioned twice now, but when you're a substitute on the ROR SRPS tour, you only come in for one show unless you win either racing or freestyle. If you can win racing or freestyle, you can stick around for a second show where you have to continue to earn your spot as a recurring truck. Level Up was unable to take a win, so he got subbed out. Let's jump into this next race here. Gravedigger versus Recreation. Up and over the step up. Recreation absolutely airing it out. Gravedigger taking a more controlled approach over both the step up and the jackrabbit here. Recreation a nice lead on Gravedigger. I take it back. Gravedigger making up some ground, and with a better landing on that gap, he only makes up more ground, gets right there with Recreation. Recreation reclaims a little bit of a lead coming out of that first turn though. Not a bad race so far. Gravedigger seems to have improved since that last round where he was getting into trouble in that first straightaway. Both trucks decent double rollers there. We'll see who can hold it together the longest here, as Recreation still holding that lead on Gravedigger. We may not be getting that Gravedigger versus the Legend here in the semifinals. We'll see how it goes for the rest of the race though, as Recreation gets into a little bit of trouble on the bridge, bobbling just a little bit. Nice big leap from both trucks, but it's Recreation in trouble in the tunnel, and down he goes. A bounce off the wall. Are they going to let him refire as well? They've been really loose with the refires tonight. It doesn't look like it though. Oh, they do let him refire. Gravedigger with another beautiful landing on that, well, I don't know about another, with a beautiful landing on the gap on the bottom floor. Gravedigger too far in the lead for Recreation to do anything unless Gravedigger were to roll over. It doesn't look like Recreation is going to do it. And with more struggle from Recreation and a great turn from Gravedigger, he has improved those gremlins. He is on to the semifinals with big air over the finish line. Gravedigger moving on. Recreation a wild roll in that tunnel, really putting his name to use here in the Spin Master Showdown track. He's getting up and over the finish line. We'll see him again at some point, I hope. But tonight, here in our first event at least, he is done. But showing out for the fans. Look at this. Nice stoppy. Setting it down. Recreation out. Gravedigger the Legend coming out next, taking on World Finals 15 to close out round 2. This is definitely an interesting race. This is where it all comes into play for that Gravedigger versus Gravedigger the Legend in the semifinals. We're off the line and over the step up. Both trucks absolutely airing it out, but it's World Finals 15 who gets a rough hit on the nose there. Gravedigger the Legend nice and smooth here on the first floor. He wants into Season 2. Can he get it? Around that turn, Gravedigger the Legend just holding that lead on World Finals 15 right now. I don't know if World Finals 15 is going to be able to do it here on the top floor. I take it back. He comes back through the slalom. Dead even over the double rollers, but it's Gravedigger the Legend just slightly smoother, getting up onto starting elevation as well. Big slide from Gravedigger the Legend, but it doesn't matter. He's too clean. You can slide, but if you're clean about it, then you're still on track. You know, you may have lost a little bit of time, but you're still in that lead in this position, specifically at least. Gravedigger the Legend launching into the tunnel. Can he get another perfect downside? He does. Look at the landings, the transfers from Gravedigger the Legend into the tunnel tonight. As I mentioned, he's been here 2 times before. That experience paying off and showing him just what he needs to do on this track. He's going to go long to low here since he's in the lead, giving himself a chance to, you know, just kind of catch his breath, take some pressure off, breathe a little bit, and get on it. Out way wide coming out of the chicane in that final straightaway, semi-final straightaway. But he leads into the final turn, and it is going to be Gravedigger the Legend heading into the semifinals. We got Gravedigger versus Gravedigger the Legend for the semis tonight. Gravedigger the Legend up and over the finish line, and he is on to the next round. World Finals 15, not getting it done tonight. Maybe he'll be back, but if we get a commemorative truck pick again, we might. We're probably going to go with a different truck. Let's take a look at our semifinal bracket here, though. War Machine taking on Level Up, and Gravedigger versus Gravedigger the Legend. Very interesting semifinal round. Obviously, for me, the race to watch has to be Gravedigger versus Gravedigger the Legend. Whoever ends up in that final round is going to fill that final spot for the Gravediggers. So, I mean, we'll see who can do it and if anyone can do it. But right now, we got War Machine taking on Level Up. We're launching off that starting line and over the step up. Level Up much more controlled over that step up than War Machine. Not that War Machine was bad at all, but he aired it out rather than rolling over the top of it. And it is Level Up with a very slight lead, a better landing, but he clips the dumpster, which inhibits his turn a little bit. War Machine grabs a slight lead here, heading into the slalom. Level Up has been solid tonight. I don't know if War Machine is going to be able to knock him out. He did struggle a little bit in the slalom last time around, clipping the column on the way out, but this time he's nice and clean. War Machine grabs a lead here around that starting elevation turn, but Level Up gets a better turn. Holding that lead, or reclaiming it, I should say, heading up onto the bridge. It is a tight race here between the two of them. Level Up in trouble and falling off the bridge. Down goes Level Up. War Machine heading into the tunnel and onto the bottom floor. War Machine is moving on to the finals tonight. Now, I could be wrong here. I do have a spreadsheet that I haven't looked at specifically for War Machine, but I believe War Machine may have been in the finals before. So this could be his second attempt here. And if that were the case, there's a strong shot that, you know, the experience comes into play. But we got to see if that's true, but we got to see if that's going to happen tonight. We've seen a couple trucks with some experience on this track go down early in that lightning lane, so we'll see if, you know, if it works out for him. But look at that, the slinger lane, that red lane, coming in clutch once again for War Machine. He's in it in the final round as well, so we'll see if he can put that to use once again, or if the slinger lane becomes that bad luck lane once again. Gravedigger coming out next on your right, taking on Gravedigger the Legend. Now, obviously, mentioned it twice now, this is the race that I really want to see. We're going green and launching off that starting line. Who's going to take it? Both trucks keeping it controlled over the step up. And on the Jackrabbit as well. Gravedigger getting kicked kind of sideways. Legend also squirrely in that straight. But he gets a better landing, I would say, than Gravedigger. But Gravedigger gets more momentum into the turn and does not roll over. Gravedigger the Legend is down in turn 1 in the semifinals. Man, that is not the way he wanted to go out. I can guarantee you that. Gravedigger in that slinger lane, that red lane once again. Now here's the kicker. Heading into round 2, he is going to be in that lightning lane. So who is going to hold out until the end? Can both trucks hold out until the end? And if that's the case, who is going to take the win? I'd love to fill that final Gravedigger spot. Unfortunately, the Indy Madness Tour is full, so we're going to have to double up on Gravediggers for one of the other 2 tours. But, you know, it is what it is at this point. Gravedigger heading onto the second floor. Nicely done through the rollers. Getting kicked a little all over the place there, but keeps it relatively controlled. He's going to clear the gap again. He's going for it. He's going to come up just short of a solid landing there. Nice little practice lap heading into the final round for Gravedigger. No real big mistakes from him. Other than, you know, coming off the Jackrabbit, he was a little slippery, a little rough there on the gap on the bottom floor here. Getting kicked around in the dip, but I mean, you can't really control that if your truck hits the roller the wrong way. You're kind of you're along for the ride, you know. Over the finish line goes Gravedigger, and he is on to the final round tonight. He's going to head back to the pits and get ready for that final round race. Let's take a look at our bracket and see how we got here tonight. War Machine taking on Metal Militia from round 1, Iron Spider in 2, and level up in the semifinals. Gravedigger, Pure Adrenaline Recreation, and Gravedigger the Legend coming out on top into the finals. Who will win this one? War Machine. This is another case of classic versus new school here. Gravedigger 14 taking on that CRD War Machine on your right. Who's going to come out on top as we go green for your final round? Launching over that step up, both trucks airing it out. No control this time, letting it hang. And War Machine, both trucks getting great landings on the Jackrabbit. Gravedigger with a nice smooth landing. Makes up a little bit of ground on War Machine, but a big slide in that turn might slow him down a little bit. Neck and neck into the slalom. Great race so far between the two. Seems relatively evenly matched here. Gravedigger with a spin. Has to get that truck reversed to avoid the pit of disqualification. War Machine in the lead right now, heading over the double rollers with a beautiful downside. Gravedigger coming up short. Little sloppy there. Can he come back? Will there be a mistake on War Machine's part? Nice leap onto the bridge for War Machine. Gravedigger just now getting up there. I don't know if Gravedigger's going to do it, at least not here on this top floor. We'll see if the transfer shakes things up a little bit. War Machine gets kicked a little sideways, but he keeps it controlled. Gravedigger fighting through it, getting it done in the transfer. Can he hold on? He's not, I don't know if he's in the sweet spot, but he's not, he overshot the roller there, heading into the gap on the bottom floor, so he is gonna have to go long to low, and that essentially seals his coffin here unless there's, you know, unless War Machine makes a big mistake in his final turn. I don't know if that's gonna happen from what we've seen from him tonight, and it doesn't. Around that final turn beautifully, War Machine is into Season 2. We still have one spot open for Gravedigger if we can get one. War Machine grabbing our next qualifying spot. If you want to vote for what tour he gets placed on, the Biggest and Baddest Tour or the All-Star Challenge Tour featuring Team Thunder versus Team Mayhem, head over to the RORSRPS Instagram at RORSRPS, and you can place your votes for War Machine himself. This Saturday, the 17th, we'll be hosting those tour placement votes once again. There's only 2 tours left, but they're gonna fill up. We gotta fill every spot. We got 48 main field trucks, and this is gonna be a wild ride. Season 2 of RORSRPS, fueled by Dubby Energy, is gonna be insane, especially with War Machine here as he pulls up for his glamour shot. An excellent night of racing. He was on kill from the start. War Machine heading into Season 2. Nicely done. Awesome truck too. Let's get into our wheel spins for our second bracket of the night. We got a Gravedigger here, Gravedigger 22. We saw the Gravedigger 22 recently. We'll see if he can, do well on this track. Piece of Scrap is back once again as well. El Poo Loco, another truck coming back again. Just Get Her Done. We haven't seen Just Get Her Done in a minute, but we've seen Just Get Her Done do well in the past. We'll see if he can bring that back once again. Time Flies. Another truck that kind of struggles on this track in general. I think the farthest we've seen him up the bracket is what? Second round, potentially semifinals. Definitely hasn't made it into the final round. So we'll see if tonight is the night. Extreme Attitude is a past finalist. We've seen him in the final round. He wants to get into Season 2, and that would be an awesome addition to the rest of the pack as well. So we'll see if that'll happen for him. Rockwell Red, that white custom. He's been here before. Put down a solid run, solid effort. See if tonight's the night for him. Wolverine, the PEI Werewolf Node Beam truck, so that is breakable. Same for Safe Auto Minimizer. We got some more destruction heading into the next one. Now, Avenger 2019 pack, we are going to have to skip. Unfortunately, we do have an Avenger already loaded in, but Avenger 2018 pack, I got something special in there if that ever comes up. But there's our full lineup here. We're going to shuffle that up 3 times and take a look at our matchups for round 1. Extreme Attitude will take on Screamin' Evil to kick us off. Monster Mud is going to face off against El Repollo Loco. Piece of Scrap is going to take on Safe Auto Minimizer. Rockwell Red versus Jurassic Attack. He's back once again. Gravedigger 34 is going to take on Utter Madness. Wolverine will face off against Just Get Her Done. Gravedigger 22 is going to take on King Crunch. And Time Flies will face off against Wild Hair. Definitely an interesting lineup here. Got a couple trucks that we haven't seen before. So I'm looking forward to seeing them. Extreme Attitude on your right coming out, taking on Screamin' Evil. Now, earlier tonight, that red lane was the golden lane. Lightning lane was giving trucks problems. We'll see if Screamin' Evil can make it out of round 1 for his first time in that lightning lane and, you know, redeem it a little bit. Absolutely launching over the Jackrabbit for Screamin' Evil. Extreme Attitude getting it done here on your right. Solid entry into the turn. Screamin' Evil getting into some trouble. Of course, he's been struggling so far this entire first straightaway. Coming through the slalom, though, he's still having his own problems over there. Extreme Attitude seems to be killing it so far. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen the rest of this race. Anything can happen on this track with how long it is and the type of racing that we're doing here. Anything can happen, but Screamin' Evil seems to be struggling once again. Up onto the bridge. Nicely done for both trucks. Screamin' Evil absolutely airing that thing out over those cars like we saw Iron Outlaw or Iron Spider do, and like we've seen Screamin' Evil do in the past. But it's still Extreme Attitude in the lead right now. Screamin' Evil just not having it on this track. He is struggling. He's been struggling every time we've seen him so far. Manages to keep it down on all fours though in that elevated turn, but he goes for a spin. Extreme Attitude may be free and clear here. Can he keep it solid around this final turn? Wow, what a turn from Extreme Attitude. Cuts it in just a little too early, but gets it done either way over the finish line. Extreme Attitude is on to round 2 tonight, getting a potential another shot at that final round. Can he make it all the way to the finals tonight is a big question. I mean, he's a solid racer. As I mentioned, he's only been here one time before, but that one time he was here, he made it up into the finals. So it's possible that it could happen again. Monster Mutt coming out next on your right, taking on El Repollo Loco. That crazy cabbage. We'll see who will come out on top here in our first round as we go green. Up and over the step up. Nice sky wheelie from Monster Mutt, but that doesn't necessarily help in this race. He is behind at the moment. El Repollo Loco not the smoothest. A little squirrely in that straight, giving Monster Mutt a chance to make up some ground here. Heading into this first turn in a sloppy turn from El Repollo Loco. Another struggle for him that is going to let Monster Mutt grab a slight edge here in our first floor. Coming around the slalom, Monster Mutt getting a lead. Looking good for Monster Mutt here on the first floor. Does come up short on that double roller. El Repollo Loco getting there a little smoother. But it's a pretty close race here. I would say El Repollo Loco is in that sweet spot right now. If there's a big mistake from Monster Mutt, El Repollo Loco will be coming back here. Oh no, but there's a big mistake from El Repollo Loco. Monster Mutt keeping it clean through the bridge. El Repollo Loco struggling. El Repollo Loco trying to get a solid transfer. He does. I don't know if he's going to be able to make up the ground. That sweet spot it's disintegrated at this point. There is no sweet spot for El Repollo Loco unless there is a huge mistake from Monster Mutt. Nice big leap from El Repollo Loco, but coming out of the chicane already, Monster Mutt looks like he's heading into round 2. How will this final turn go? Nicely done. A great final turn from Monster Mutt. El Repollo Loco is down here in round 1. Can we get a Mutt in season 2? Well, another Mutt. We got Rottweiler at least. But can we get an OG Monster Mutt, either the Kohler version or the classic, you know, the CRD or PEI? I'll take any of them. I would love to get a regular Monster Mutt into season 2. So we'll see if he can do it tonight as we head into round 2. But let's take a look at our next race of the night here. Piece of Scrap coming back. We haven't seen him in a little while. Safe Auto Minimizer, another one it's been a little bit since we've seen him, and this is the Werewolf No Beam version, so he has potential to get into trouble tonight. We'll see if he can keep that thing solid and all fours and on all fours and in one piece. Heading over the step up, of course, Safe Auto gonna kind of keep it more controlled there. Nicely done over the Jackrabbit, but it's Piece of Scrap with a big lead on Safe Auto right now. Safe Auto keeping it nice and controlled, which is good, but it's a slow and steady approach, which can work. Generally, you don't want to be slow. You want to keep it controlled, keep it steady. But you know, we'll see if it works for him. We've seen Do You work a lot for some trucks on this track, but he gets into trouble on the double roller there. Does make it up onto starting elevation, but that truck is tweaked, and that left rear is tweaked as well. Piece of Scrap just keeping it smooth, keeping it consistent on this track. He's just trying to make it past round 1, and at this point, it looks good for him. Safe Auto Minimizer just fighting the truck at this point. I don't think it's going to happen for him unless Piece of Scrap gets himself out here on the gap on the bottom floor. Safe Auto getting kicked around in the transfer. Manages to keep it on all fours, though, which is nice. Solid leap from Piece of Scrap there through the gap. Heading into the gap for Safe Auto Minimizer. He's going to come up short, as you would expect. But it's Piece of Scrap heading into that final turn. And that is going to be it. Beautiful final turn. Safe Auto Minimizer is done here in the first round. Piece of Scrap on to round 2. I mean, relatively, Safe Auto Minimizer keeping that truck in one piece. He's tweaked. He's hurt. But, I mean, he's not hurt. The truck is hurt. But, you know. Oh, no. No, he's not. Down he goes. Snaps a 4-link or bends a 4-link. And pops that left front. Down goes Safe Auto Minimizer. Some body work needs to be done for sure. We'll see if he can come back at some point and do better than he did here in round 1 of our second bracket of the night. Rockwell Red coming out next on your right, taking on that OG Jurassic attack. We just saw that OG Jurassic attack recently. He didn't do too well. One of the biggest things that he needs to work on is his transfers, whether it be a downside on the Jackrabbit or the transfer into the tunnel. And I don't know if they've made the improvements they need to do yet. We'll see if that happens tonight. He's already struggling here in this first straightaway. Gonna have to go long to low in the gap. Nice sky wheelie, but it's about speed on this track. It's not necessarily about style. So, struggling a little bit here on the first floor so far. We'll see if there's a big mistake from Rockwell Red. And there is a big slide from Rockwell Red, but it's not enough for Jurassic Attack to grab a lead, just enough for him to make up some ground. Red's coming up short on the double roller. Jurassic Attack, solid downside, getting right up on the starting elevation. Little kick in the rear end, but he keeps it controlled. It's just not making up the ground he needs to make if he wants to pass up Rockwell Red here. Big hit on the front end for Rockwell Red on those cars. Doesn't matter though. Rockwell Red, a solid racer, does what he needs to do to grab leads. He hasn't made it into season 2 yet, but this is only his second time on this track, so we'll see if tonight is the night for him. Jurassic Attack doesn't look like it's his night. He is absolutely struggling on this track. which I mean I expected. He was struggling last time we saw him as well. Rockwell red going for a spin, but still not enough for Jurassic Attack to make up the ground. Jurassic Attack is done. I can only assume. We'll see how this final turn treats Rockwell red. And yes, he does get through it nice and clean. Jurassic Attack out here in round 1. Just Jurassic Attack trucks just not getting it done for season 2. We'll see if at some point they can get up into the final round and potentially take a win. But here on the Spin Master Showdown track, they are just having a hard time. They're not getting it done. That is it. I mean, there's no more brackets after this one, so that's it for Jurassic Attack. He's going to head back into the hauler for tonight. Gravedigger 34 coming out next on your right. She'll be taking on Utter Madness, which would be awesome if it was the CRD version. This is the NAMPed version, so it's going to be a typical NAMPed run. He's going to have to come up short in all the gaps, and he's going to be fighting the truck in the turns. So we'll see, we'll see that happen. Unless Gravedigger makes a big mistake, which I don't know if that's going to happen. This is the first time we're seeing this version of Gravedigger 34, and she's off to a solid start here on the first floor. Through that first turn and into the slalom already. Utter Madness just now heading into the slalom. Big time waster when you go into that first gap. Whether you're up against a great opponent or you know, a not so great opponent, heading into that gap on the first floor is tough. So solid downside. It's looking like a solid pass from the NAMPed truck from Utter Madness, but they just don't have the top end right away like these V4s do, and they don't have the handling abilities that the V4s do. They're just V4s are basic. They're the starter, you know, but they're on another level as far as this competition goes. Gravedigger coming out into the rollers and headed to the gap here on the bottom floor. Can she clear it? Is she going to try to clear it? No, she's going to go long to low. Solid attempt. I mean, that's good. Pressure's off at this point. She just needs to finish. Big slide in that elevated turn, though. Good thing she's doing it now. I mean, you gotta make mental note of this stuff before your next round. So, I mean, good for her. Able to do it now. Utter Madness does the same thing, though. So, Gravedigger up and over the triple and to the finish line. She is on to round 2 here tonight. Utter Madness done in round 1. Not the worst pass we've seen from a NAMPed truck. Just a typical NAMPed pass. Yeah, long to low in the triple. Headed to the finish line. Utter Madness done here in round 1. We'll see him again at some point, I'm hoping. But for now, it's until next time. Wolverine coming out next on your right. That werewolf node beam truck taking on Just Get Her Done. As I mentioned, we've seen Just Get Her Done do well here on this track. Can tonight be another time that she does well? We'll see here as we go green off the starting line. Up and over the step up. It is Just Get Her Done with a slight lead. But Wolverine is no slouch. Aside from the time that he snapped off both rear wheels at once. Wolverine's been relatively solid for a werewolf truck. Getting in trouble in that first gap, though. And I just mentioned that hurts your run big time. This is the 3rd truck in a row we've seen have to go long to low in that first gap of the night. And it doesn't get any better for these trucks as the night goes on. Wolverine goes down. Keeps it out of the pit of disqualification, but down goes Wolverine. Just Get Her Done on to round 2. Free and clear here to grab a win. Just a practice lap for her. We'll see if she can, hold it together here in round 1. Figure out where her problem points are. This is the perfect opportunity for it. No opponent. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to, overperform or get yourself out of sticky situations. Just do what needs to be done because nobody's rushing you. Nobody's behind you. Do what you got to do. Figure out where your problem areas are and improve in the next round. She is going to try and clear the gap here. Rough hit on the front end. She may want to go long to low in the next round. It looks like she a little feather into the gas there at the beginning, and she would have come up too short. So that's obviously a no-no. You want to get a nice clean landing around that final turn. Nice and beautiful turn. Beautiful turn. Over the triple and to the finish line. Just get her done. Is on to round 2. Knocking out Wolverine here in round 1. Unfortunate for sure. I know Wolverine has a lot of Monster Jam fans. And, you know, I'm a fan of that werewolf truck. He comes out here, does what he needs to do most of the time. But Gravedigger 22 coming out next on your right, taking on King Crunch. Now, he's from that Flame Motorsports pack. So we've seen that Flame Motorsports pack once before when we ran El Matador. And El Matador was solid on this track, so I'm expecting something similar from King Crunch tonight as we are off the line and over the step up, airing it out on both sides. Gravedigger coming up just shy of clearing it. He does kind of get a rollover a little bit on the way down, just tags it. On the gap here on the first floor, it is King Crunch who's looking cleaner. Heading into the slalom, King Crunch holding that lead. Gravedigger 22, we've seen this truck on this track before, and yeah, that was the same issue that he was struggling with before. Just keeping it on all fours is hard for this truck, and you're getting that firsthand right here. Heading into the double rollers, he does overshoot it as well, which is going to kick him into some trouble. Getting on a starting elevation, can he save it? Going for a spin cycle, too much rear steer, and down goes Gravedigger in round 1. That is not what I wanted to see here tonight. I wanted another Gravedigger in the next season. Going for a perfect, pretty perfect transfer into the tunnel there for King Crunch. He is all by himself on this track, and he is looking for a Season 2 qualification. Comes up just shy of a perfect landing on the gap here on the bottom floor. And coming out of the chicane, King Crunch putting down a solid practice pass here in round 1. Looking for the triple. A little squirrely head into the triple, gets crooked in the air, hopping into the other lane. Definitely don't want to do that in round 2. I mean, it's not like he's going to get penalized or anything, but you don't want to do that. You want to keep it in your lane and keep things clean here on the RORSRPS channel. Wild Hair Replica Custom coming out next on your left, and he'll be taking on Time Flies. This is definitely an interesting one. Of course, Wild Hair, this is his first time. He's debuting on this track. Time Flies, though, has been here a couple times. Will that experience pay off? This truck is unlike a lot of trucks. It is very bouncy, and you're going to see that here in just a second coming off of this Jackrabbit, I'm sure. Even just the transfer from the ramp face to the floor, he gets reboundy, so I don't know if it's going to happen for Time Flies here tonight, but Wild Hair is giving him a run for his money for sure. So that's just only crediting what I have to say here about Time Flies, at least on this track. Wild Hair looking good, a big slide heading around that turn, but still holding that lead on Time Flies. Ooh, coming up just short on that starting elevation leap. Does clip the corner there, but it is still Wild Hair holding the lead. Time Flies just struggling to get up into contention for the lead, but with Wild Hair getting hung up on the car, he does make up some ground, and a flat left front is gonna hurt Wild Hair's pass for the oh no! Wow, what a roll from Wild Hair. I was gonna say until that left tire reinflates if possible, but the kicking around in the air just sent that nose down, and Wild Hair is done. Time Flies by himself on this track now. Lightning Lane getting that Wild Hair truck into trouble once again. Time Flies free and clear to head into round 2, and that is going to close out our first round. I'm sorry for counting him out. I mean, if it weren't for that, he was behind. But I mean, anything can happen on this track, and that's just something that, you know, viewers and myself, we just got to keep it in mind. Anything can happen. This track is tough. Big sky wheelie over that little speed hump there. And time flies is on to round 2. Speaking of round 2, let's take a look at this bracket here. Extreme Attitude is going to take on Monster Mutt to kick us off. Piece of Scrap is going to take on Rockwell Red. Gravedigger will face off against Just Get Her Done. And King Crunch is going to take on Time Flies. Look at that classic race right there. King Crunch versus Time Flies at the bottom of the bracket. But I'm kind of concerned about Extreme Attitude versus Monster Mutt, our first race here of round 2. Of course, as I mentioned many times last round, Extreme Attitude was a finalist last time we saw him and his first time here. Monster Mutt, on the other hand, has yet to make it into the finals and hasn't taken a win. Obviously, he's not a Season 2 competitor, which I would love to see it. I would love to see Monster Mutt become a Season 2 competitor, and I just don't know if that's going to happen, taking on Extreme Attitude here in round 2. Both of them getting nice, clean landings on the gap here on the first floor. It's not the closest race, but it's not too spread out either. Monster Mutt right in that sweet spot right now. He is behind, but he's gaining, heading through the slalom. Using that experience on this track and through the slalom specifically to reclaim the lead here as we head down the double roller. Both trucks coming up just shy of a perfect landing. It is neck and neck coming around the turn on starting elevation. Monster Mutt a slight lead heading down the ski hill. Nicely done. Both trucks absolutely handling those cars on the bridge. This is going to be a great race from start to finish here as Monster Mutt is the first one into the tunnel. Extreme Attitude goes down in the tunnel. Bounces off the tunnel, which puts a stop to his rotations. And down he goes on his lid in the tunnel. Monster Mutt clear here in round 2 to move on to the semifinals. I haven't seen many mistakes from Monster Mutt this time around, at least in this round. So I wouldn't consider this a practice pass for him. I would just consider this, a lucky streak. He's made it into the semifinals, and he has a shot at the final round once again. Can he do it tonight? Will he become our next Season 2 qualifier is the question. And, I can't lie to you, man. I would love it. That'd be awesome. Hey, he's going to head back up to the pits and get ready for the semis as we look at our next race of the night. Piece of Scrap on your right. Send It flag waving in the wind. Rockwell Red on your left. And this could be another solid race. I totally blanked on it. This would be a solid race here. These two trucks going head to head, and they are launching over that step up to get us started onto the first floor. Piece of Scrap beautifully done onto the over the jackrabbit, I should say. A little bit of a slap wheelie, but keeps it controlled. This Rockwell Red with a better landing on that gap here on the first floor. Both trucks absolutely chucking it into the slalom here. Rockwell Red may have a slight lead, but it's all about the exit. Who is going to get to the double rollers first? Rockwell Red, very slight lead. Both trucks getting solid downsides. I think Piece of Scrap overshot it just slightly. Oh, just avoids that dumpster on Piece of Scrap's side. And he's in the lead right now as we head up onto the bridge. What a turn from Piece of Scrap on starting elevation. That is a risky move, I can tell you that much. You clip that dumpster and that inside tire is going straight up in the air and potentially kicking you over onto your lid, which I don't need to tell you, you don't want to do that. Rockwell Red getting into trouble in the gap here on the bottom floor. It is all Piece of Scrap right now, but he's getting into trouble in the elevated turn. Spins him the right way around, and he is headed to that final turn. I don't think Rockwell Red is going to get it done here in the second round. Around that final turn, he is out wide, but Rockwell Red is too far behind. Piece of Scrap moving on to round 2. Or, excuse me, our semifinals. Not round 2. We just won round 2. Nice. We're going to see, so it's Monster Mutt versus Piece of Scrap in the semifinals. An interesting race, to say the least. We'll see Piece of Scrap again in just a minute. Gravedigger 34 coming out next on your right. taking on Just Get Her Done. Can Kristen do it? 34 on your right. Is she gonna get it done here and knock out Just Get Her Done here in round 2? We're launching off that starting line. We're gonna find out. Both trucks taking a rollover approach to that step up there. Interesting. It is neck and neck. Gravedigger might have a better landing here. Yes. Keeping it clean as well. Just Get Her Done a little squirrely through that first straightaway, but she does, both trucks get a great landing on that gap here on the first floor. Coming through the slalom, Gravedigger. Oh, a big slide. Had a lead, but a big slide puts her out of it. Just Get Her Done in the lead right now, heading into the double roller section. Who is going to come up onto starting elevation better? Gravedigger. Gravedigger making up the ground, clearing that ledge. Big slide in the turn, but holds that lead just slightly with a slingshot. Big sky wheelie from Gravedigger. Just Get Her Done comes back, and it is neck and neck, looking for a transfer into the tunnel. Just Get Her Done a slight lead, and getting into the tunnel better. Both trucks struggling, but it is Just Get Her Done who is better. And yeah, Gravedigger struggling there, trying to get that truck into the tunnel. Just that change in elevation between the two sides of the tires, it spun her, or kept her straight, I should say, rather than spinning her the way she wanted to go. Just Get Her Done, free and clear to head into the semifinals. Too far in the lead for Gravedigger to do anything about it. Around that final turn we go, and Just Get Her Done is on to the semifinals tonight. One big leap over the finish line and into the semis she goes. She's going to head back up to the pits and get prepped for the next round. We only got one race between us and the semifinals, so let's check it out here in just a second. Unfortunate break for Gravedigger. Another Gravedigger down. All hopes of Gravedigger into season 2 here for tonight are out the window. King Crunch is next, though, taking on Time Flies. King Crunch on your right, Time Flies on your left. And who is going to come out on top in this one? The classic Monster Jam race here at the end of round 2. We're going green. Over the step up with a big leap. Both trucks using the downside of that step up to help them out. Time Flies, pretty clean landing there. Keeping up with King Crunch here on this first floor. Both trucks getting kind of a nose picker there on the landing of that gap. And it is pretty neck and neck here heading through the slalom. This could be a really great race, actually. I mean, both trucks have their shortcomings. King Crunch, I would say, the better of the two. But, I mean, each one has their own unique way of doing things here. Time Flies airing it out. Both trucks getting on the starting elevation with little problems. King Crunch with a nice lead on Time Flies, though. Time Flies just shy of that sweet spot right now. I don't think if King Crunch were to make a small mistake, Time Flies would come back, but a bigger mistake, potentially. Solid transfer from Time Flies into the, or from King Crunch into the tunnel. Time Flies as well. We'll see if King Crunch is going to hold this the entire race. Time Flies is all over the place through those rollers. Big leaps through the track. Heading into this elevated turn, King Crunch a little sloppy, getting it done, keeping it controlled, but just not the cleanest turn overall. And heading into this final turn, it is King Crunch with a lead. Can he hold it? Yes, with a nice, a really great final turn from King Crunch. He is over the triple and to the finish line. King Crunch grabs our final spot in the semifinals tonight. This is turning out to be a really interesting bracket here, especially heading into this semifinal round. Look at this. Monster Mutt is going to take on Piece of Scrap to kick us off, and Just Get Her Done is going to take on King Crunch. The biggest name I would say that we have here as far as Monster Jam Racing goes is Monster Mutt. I mean, between the two, King Crunch and Monster Mutt, Mutt has the most World Finals appearances. and a piece of scrap as a custom. Just Get Her Done has yet to appear in the World Finals. So, I mean, I'm hoping for Monster Mutt, but anything could go any way on this track. As I mentioned many times before and a couple times tonight, we're going green here to kick off the semifinals, though. Monster Mutt versus Piece of Scrap. Big leap from Monster Mutt, big arc from Piece of Scrap. Somehow both of these trucks are still in one piece after the night of racing that we've had here. Piece of Scrap with a nice early lead on Monster Mutt. Mutt having to go long to low there in the gap on the first floor. Piece of Scrap holding that lead on Monster Mutt. Hasn't had much competition from Monster Mutt this round. We'll see if we got a long race to go. We'll see if Monster Mutt can make some moves here that'll get him up into contention for the lead. But as of right now, it's just a struggle for Monster Mutt. Getting a little butt kicker up on the starting elevation. Piece of Scrap, nice and clean down the ski hill. Big leap onto the bridge. And again, just holding that lead on Monster Mutt right now. Monster Mutt really needs to go hard here if he wants to make up the ground and get into the finals tonight. Big leap into the tunnel. Gonna hit rear end first, which is gonna give him a bounce. Wasn't too bad, but you don't really want to bounce heading into the tunnel. You want to reduce bounce as much as possible. Try to get a perfect transfer. Piece of Scrap, great leap across the gap. Monster Mutt not bad himself, but it is all Piece of Scrap as we head into the final turn. Will there be a big mistake from Piece of Scrap? Or is that all she wrote for Monster Mutt tonight? That is all she wrote. Piece of Scrap, a beautiful turn, and headed into the finals tonight as we head over the finish line. Monster Mutt unable to make up the ground that he lost early in this race, and it was just a fight to get near first place the entire race. And I mean, that wasn't the worst effort that we've seen from a truck, but it just didn't happen for him tonight. We'll see if he can come back. I want a regular Mutt in Season 2, man. That's my only request. Give me a regular Mutt. It was give me 3, Max D's and 3 Gravediggers, but we already got 2. That's good. It would be cool to get 3 and 3, but I don't know. Monster Mutt, though, I need Monster Mutt in Season 2, man. Come on. Just Get Her Done on your right, taking on King Crunch, and we're going green. Over the step up we go with big leaps from both trucks. Nicely done over the Jackrabbit as well. This is quite a race so far. Just Get Her Done slightly behind, but both of these trucks are killing it here on the first floor. And this race could go either way with what we've seen from these trucks tonight. Both of them getting it done here on the first floor. No pun intended. Just Get Her Done throwing down a solid race. King Crunch with a couple mistakes there, a couple big slides through the slalom, letting Just Get Her Done make up even more ground. Not the best turn from Just Get Her Done. King Crunch nice and quick around that starting elevation turn. He's the first one up onto the bridge, reclaiming a little bit of that gap that he had on Just Get Her Done in the beginning. Looking for a transfer into the tunnel, though. This could shake things up here. King Crunch on 2 wheels, trying to get that truck under control. Just Get Her Done making up some ground. Heading into the gap, King Crunch a little squirrely, having trouble putting power down. He comes up short. Just Get Her Done goes for a ride. King Crunch may have a lead here. He does, coming out of the chicane. Heading into the final turn, it is all King Crunch. And with a beautiful final turn, King Crunch is over the triple and heading to the finish line. Just Get Her Done, not enough tonight to get up into the finals. Made it into the semis and put up a solid fight. It just wasn't enough to grab a lead. King Crunch going for a wild ride here after the finish line, and manages to get it controlled and stopped before the car is in the dumpster there, before ending up in the parking lot, but got into some trouble. Let's take a look at our final race of the night here. Piece of Scrap versus King Crunch. Piece of Scrap getting things started here with a Werewolf node beam truck over there, taking on Safe Auto Minimizer, moved up past Rockwell Red and Monster Mutt, and King Crunch put in some work tonight. I mean, he knocked out Time Flies in our second round, which, I mean, isn't necessarily the most notable win that anybody could have, but I mean, he got it done. Somebody who has more experience on this track than he does. We're going green for your final round of racing. Piece of scrap in the lane that's been on fire tonight. And King Crunch, not. But it is King Crunch with a beautiful downside on the Jackrabbit. These two are neck and neck over the gap here, heading into our first turn of the final round. Piece of scrap, I would say more technical through that turn, getting the power down where it's needed, keeping that truck kind of, you know, not completely. You don't necessarily want a 90, right? You don't want to slide. You want as much traction as possible. And Piece of Scrap really put it down. King Crunch was really slipping and sliding through that first turn. But up on the starting elevation, these two are pretty neck and neck here. King Crunch even has a slight lead as we head into the ski hill. Through the bridge, King Crunch holding that slight lead on Piece of Scrap, but Piece of Scrap is making up the ground, looking for a transfer. Who is going to get a better one is the question. King Crunch heads towards the wall. Piece of Scrap getting into his own trouble, swirly through the tunnel. Both trucks having trouble controlling it. Through the tunnel, it is Piece of Scrap making up the ground, heading into the gap. Rough hit on the nose and the rear end for Piece of Scrap. King Crunch and Piece of Scrap neck and neck coming out of the chicane. King Crunch is in that sweet spot. Will there be a mistake from Piece of Scrap in the final turn? Coming around it, King Crunch is tighter, but it is Piece of Scrap with the slingshot heading up and over the finish line. Piece of Scrap moves on to Season 2 of Rigs of Rod's semi-realistic point series. King Crunch unable to do it here in the finals. I would not mind having King Crunch in Season 2, so hopefully he can come back and give it another shot at some point and do well once again. But Piece of Scrap is our next Season 2 qualifier. If you want to vote for what tour he gets placed on, head over to the RORSRPS Instagram, drop a follow, and keep an eye on my story, because this Saturday, February 17th, we'll be hosting tour placement votes between our two tours that we have left. Biggest and Baddest Tour and the All-Star Challenge Tour, featuring Team Thunder versus Team Mayhem, the biggest team battle we've ever seen all season long. And we're gonna be going hard all season, and it's all fueled by Dubby. As we get this glamour shot, be sure to head over to dubby.gg and check them out. See what flavors you might like, and if you use that 10% off promo code of RORSRPS, you'll be supporting the RORSRPS channel as well, and I would greatly appreciate it, and I know Dubby would as well. But thank you guys so much for watching tonight. Be sure to check out that Instagram, check out Dubby, subscribe if you enjoyed tonight's show. We got more coming tomorrow. Thank you guys again, and I will see you guys tomorrow.